Welcome to the Honest Designers Show, your transparent look into life as a modern designer. My name's Tom Ross and I'm the founder at designcuts.com, and this week I'm joined by my fellow Brit and hand lettering expert Ian Barnard, American retro design expert Dustin Lee, and as ever the talented South African illustrator Lisa Glanz. Today we are sharing our honest life hacks. I'm not quite sure where this episode is going to go, but we thought it would be fun just to break down the things that help us out, help our creativity out, our creative businesses out, and hopefully we're going to drop some knowledge. We shall see. So without further ado, let's get into the show. Hey guys.
Hey Tom.
Hey.
So we were just having a little celebration before we hit record here because we've officially crossed 300 5-star reviews, which is incredibly humbling. So we wanted to kick off this episode by saying a huge thank you to all the lovely people.
Thank you.
We do read every single one, and we're just reading through. They're so sweet. A lot of people calling out the honesty of the show. A lot of people saying that they want to go grab a pint with us, grab a drink with us. So clearly the kind of alcoholic theme that runs through many episodes is kind of is filtering down to the listeners. But honestly, just such lovely feedback. And, you know, aside from the stuff about the advice on the show, there was a lot of feedback just saying how people felt like we were friends. So very touching. Thank you so much. And if you are a long time listener or a new listener of the show and you enjoy it, it would of course mean the world if you just popped over to the podcast app and left your 2 cents. But only if they're nice, please, because our egos really can't take anything.
Star.
I do not want Lisa Glanz crying into my shoulder again like she does after she's had a couple of shandies. You know, that is not pretty for anyone involved. So,
Hey, question on something you said before we get started with the topic at hand.
Mm-hmm.
I have never understood this, so this is a good time. Maybe you guys can clarify this for me. When people say things like you had just said, we have this many reviews, we're so humbled. People always say that after something really great happened, but I always think, wouldn't that be something that makes you not humbled?
Sorry, let me rephrase. We've had 300 5-star reviews and we are so arrogant right now. Like, it's gone straight to our head.
I'm dead. I'm serious. Like, why do people say that? I don't actually get it, because it seems like something that would be humbling would be like getting a bunch of bad reviews and people telling you like you better straighten up, you know?
It's actually a pretty valid point. Yeah.
It's a valid point, but I think it's because like you can't believe that there's so many people out there that actually say those nice things about you.
Yeah,
so
it puts it in perspective. It makes you feel almost small in a way and grateful and
amazed.
Because I felt like the first time that my 2-year-old son punched me in the balls, that was humbling. I realized that even a small person could beat me up.
Look, that's just embarrassing. I mean, really.
It was embarrassing and it was humbling.
My son is already. I have to actually put some effort into my run now, otherwise my 7-year-old beats me.
Oh, they're just like a greyhound, though, aren't they? These kids, they've got no weight to them, so they're
it's just pure muscle. It's just, I'm like envious of my 7-year-old's, physique.
All right, so we're talking life hacks today. First life hack is don't get punched in the balls by your 2-year-old, and don't try and be competitive dad with your 7-year-old. So that's 2 tips right there.
Yeah, I'm liking it.
I really don't know where this episode's going to go. It might jump around. I mean, I know that is inconceivable of us to do that. But, it could just happen, people. Has anyone got a really good one? Let's start on a high. I think, Lisa, you mentioned one before.
Yeah. Well, okay. So what I do quite a lot is this kind of like reward system that I've got going in my own head. Because there's certain tasks that I really despise doing. So whether it's like cleaning the house or whether it's actually doing stuff work related that's not so nice, like admin and stuff like that. I literally will say to myself, okay, for the next hour, you've got to do your accounting or whatever it is. And after that, you're allowed to draw. But I've got to like get the thing done first in order for myself to actually do the nice stuff. So
Do you get your
it doesn't-
iPad and dangle it from a bit of string on a stick that's in front of you?
no,
Little
because
proverbial carrot.
that would be pure torture. No, so I kind of like really build up the reward as well. So I like clump the reward with a whole lot of other nice stuff, like
Glass of
having
wine.
a cup of coffee. No, having a cup of coffee and a cookie when I draw. So it's like
Aw.
not only am I allowed to draw, but I'm gonna have like coffee and a cookie. So that's like double extra whammy to like incentive to get it done.
I think that's
It works,
great.
mostly.
I try and do the same thing, but do you ever just think,
Yeah.
well, hold on, I'm the one imposing this rule, so I can just unimpose it, and I can just have the cookie and the coffee. Because it's like you're trying to like hold yourself accountable as if it were an external person doing it, but you can just think your way out of that.
Yes, no, you can. But the thing is that same debate that I have then goes something like, well, if you're going to do that, it just means that you have to do the accounting and all the other grotty stuff later. So wouldn't you rather get it done now? And then you can move on and relax and enjoy that coffee and drawing session. Because if you think about it, if you know that you got this stuff to do that's hanging over your head, you're never really fully into like the nice things you have to do. They're kind of always gnawing at you. So you have to like clear your plate first, essentially, to
Of
really
cookies.
enjoy the good stuff. Cookies.
Clear that plate of
Yeah.
cookies. I think for me, I might trial giving like my Apple Pencil to my wife until I've done, like you
Ooh,
say,
that's
done
a good
some,
one.
Oh,
done
that's
some
a
of
good
my
one.
accounting and stuff. Or maybe she hides it and
That's
gives me clues
brilliant.
every time I get a certain step.
She's going to take that to extremes, though. It'd be like you haven't,
Yeah.
cleaned the living room, Ian. So
Yeah, the whole house will look completely different. Can I have my Apple Pencil, please?
only when you eat your greens, Mister.
I'll tell my wife that. The other day I got on the scale in this quarantine, man. I added like 4 pounds, and I know it was that 5-pound bag of super soft gummy bears. I don't know why I made that bad choice. I thought that I could control myself, but like I had like gained like 3 pounds, and I like had to like grab that bag and just be like, please go hide this.
How many pounds did you gain? 4. What?
5. It was
3.
5 pounds. I mean,
5.
it was heavy.
What is
It
that
was-
in
it was like-
kilos?
I don't know.
So
Why are you trying to think of that had
couple
to
of
do with
kilograms.
drugs? Why do you need no kilos?
yeah, it's about 2 kg, Lisa.
I mean, that's not bad.
Yeah,
That's not
I mean
bad.
it is quite a lot of gum
Dude.
to eat.
It's like 2 packs
like
of
this big.
sugar.
It's like a human head of gummy bears.
Okay, that is bad.
I've had to do put myself on the 16-8 diet. Well, it's not really a diet. It's restricting yourself to eating only an 8-hour window, and so then you're fasting for another 16 hours. Because
Oh, that's
I
horrible.
can literally consume so many calories that actually it's not making great difference because I'm that 8 window. All I'm doing is just eating.
We've mentioned
So
this
how are
before
you
on the
doing
show.
that?
It is literally it's like watching a circus act when you see Ian eat. Having gone out for dinner with the man, it's honestly impressive, and there's a reason why he can fit his entire fist in his mouth.
The
It's like a
problem
boa
is
constrictor. Like when he eats something, it's never more than one bite. It's just,
Continue.
and I look like this, like so I look like a banana because I just eat it whole.
comes out like a boa constrictor. Comes out like a boa constrictor too.
Oh, Dustin.
Aw, thank you for that image.
Dustin is definitely the childish jokes in the group, and I'm totally here for it.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I could not stop my brain. Like the part of my brain was
It's
like,
okay.
"Don't say that. That's so not cool to say," and the other part was like, "No, we're controlling
This
it."
is
So-
fun.
I'm gonna say it.
The other part was no, you've already said it.
All right, I've got a little life hack.
Yeah.
And I know some of you guys do this. I will deliberately unfollow people that are somewhat similar to me because I don't want to get influenced by them,
Oh yeah.
and I don't
Definitely.
want to feel the kind of weird competitive
Pressure.
pressure. I know Dustin
Yeah.
does this too.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't
I
follow
make it so
anybody
they
that's
don't
similar to me,
exist.
actually.
Yeah.
I think.
Sometimes I block people.
Yeah.
Just like purely because like I don't ever want to have to think about them.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. I think it's healthy
It's
if you're
just for my mental
finding,
health.
because it's so easy for your style just to get influenced, and especially if it's something like perhaps logo design, it's really hard to come up with an original logo mark if you're quite minimal. And so if you're following a bunch of similarly styled designers who've released 500 logo marks each, it's very likely that even subconsciously one of those is going to sink in, and people are quite rightly worried about that. So I think being in a bit of a silo in that respect is not a bad thing.
Yes.
Yep.
I agree. And that
Good
is
tip.
hard to do because you get that, it's like an itch, you know, like you want to check.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, you want to see, it's hard. But then
It
after a
feels like it's masked. Like you go to check for the inspiration, but you end up with a comparison. It's like, I need to check because there might be something that might inspire me, like the sudden like lightning bolt neon sign of inspiration. But and you're hoping for it, but all that just happens is you just like, oh my word, that's rubbish.
Well,
And then
right,
you
because in business, you know, what they say and they build tools around this, and it's in books. You guys have all heard, you know, a big part of business is, well, pay attention to what your competitors are doing. You know, always be watching what your competitors are doing and make sure you're adjusting and like pivoting things to like react to that. And it sounds like such good advice and it's such universal advice. But the problem is that like people will be like, well, that's fine. You should do that. But then like, if you're talking about say like Instagram, like to like a teenage girl, they'll say, oh my gosh, don't follow those girls and look at what they're doing and compare yourself to them. And then as adults, we're like, oh no, just do that with like how you value yourself, like on your business and like your financial life and like how your business succeeds. Then go compare yourself. Like it sounds so rational to go look. And then you go look and it tears your soul out.
Yeah,
and
it
pulls
doesn't
through
feel
your
good.
bones.
And yes, I'm, you know, as a businessman, I like having a good positioning within my market and consciously trying to differentiate and have a degree of awareness. But honestly, I don't look that much. And these days I look way less than I ever have. It's kind of like if you're running the 100 meters in the Olympics, you sometimes see the people that are constantly looking side to side and you can tell it's slowing them down. Or there's the people that are laser focused dead ahead on just trying to win the race.
Yep.
Right. And I've kind of figured like, if something is really serious, someone else will notify me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's also nothing worse than like, I mean, because for some time I did follow somebody who I guess she had similar style to me with some of her floral illustrations, and then
Are you referring to
one day I
Lisa
saw-
Bands?
I love that woman. She's so great, so talented.
She draws the best bunnies.
Yeah, super sweet as well.
Yeah, and then one day I saw on her feed she had launched a product that looked just like mine, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna unfollow her because that actually wasn't healthy then for me to see that. Because then you start thinking, okay, is this just coincidental or did you just blatantly copy me? And then it starts a whole lot of icky feelings and stuff. So yeah, it's just generally not a healthy thing.
I feel you on that, Lisa.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Okay, life hack number 2 of mine.
Wow,
I
you got two.
find,
Okay.
got 2 up the sleeve. I find that when I clean my house and my digital house, it makes me way more productive and creative. Because the same way, Lisa, you
Yes.
mentioned, if you got the, you know, taxes or whatever floating in the back of your mind,
Mm.
it's still there, just kind of pulling your focus and attention, right? And it sucks. Same thing if I live in mess. I'm not like a neat freak, but what I do is it kind of slowly degenerates to shit. And then it gets to a point where I'm
that's
like,
me.
I need to have a massive spring clean and sort it all out. And then I feel way better. And then the process starts again. But I have the same thing. Like right now, I'm overdue spring cleaning my inbox. So I probably have like 200 to 300 emails that I need to go through and just sort out and organize. And
In your inbox.
between like 2 or 3 inboxes. But yeah.
I'm having an anxiety attack for you.
Oh, not all of those need a response. A lot of that's like spammy crap
okay, thank
and stuff.
goodness.
So
Okay,
yeah,
all
it's
right.
okay. but thank you. But yeah, like right now there's some mess in my home. I have these messy inboxes. I even do it with tidying up my files on my local machine on my computer.
Oh yeah.
And whenever I do that, it actually doesn't take as long as I think it will. It might take like an hour or two. And then I'm good for like, 3-4 weeks at least.
Yeah.
And everything's beautifully neat and organized, and it's a nice environment. And I don't have all that distraction of every time I look at my inbox, I feel anxiety, and I get more done. So that would be my second life
But
hack.
what I find fascinating about us is that, like, we know all this, so we do this every now and then. We go through these binges of cleaning and all that kind of stuff, and then, but if we just had to do it every day, like, it would literally take 5 minutes.
Yep.
But we don't.
Mhm.
So what is with that? I'll give you an example. Recently, I started cleaning up my Procreate gallery area. Ian, I don't know what yours looks like, but mine looks like a dog's breakfast. And the other thing, what I wanted to start doing was like backing them up. So they need to be named, otherwise it's just going to be Untitled 1, Untitled 2, Untitled 3. And just like, you're not going to know what the hell you're backing up. So it took a lot of work, and I haven't even got near to, halfway. And the point is, like, why don't we just do it as we're going instead of like creating this big job at the end? I don't know. It's just a weird thing.
I kind of got an answer for that.
Yeah.
Something I'm struggling with right now is that there's so many little jobs that are seemingly quick, and they are quick, but when they are recurring, that really adds up.
Sure.
So, for example, if there's a job that takes just like 15 minutes a day that you need to attend to, that adds up to, I think, 5 hours a month.
Mm-hmm.
Which when you think that's solid work in that 15 minutes, that's not you kind of floating around. You're getting that done in 15 minutes. You don't work solidly for a day, generally. No. So that 5 hours could easily be one full working day. And if you're not working weekends, you get 20 working days in a month. So straight away, that's 1 day out of 20 that's lost in one task. And then you get another task, which is like, let's keep that tidy and let's do that thing over there and that bit there. And before you know it, you've got 10 of them, and you've got a quarter or even half your time filled with these random little things.
I know, I hear you 100%, and that it definitely applies to a lot of things. But what if some of the stuff that we are leaving or putting off actually will help speed up our processes? Like, for example, like years ago, I started getting to the habit of naming all my Illustrator layers as I worked, and being really kind of like pedantic about how I name my files and my codes that I use. And I can't tell you how that saves me like so much time.
See, that's the difference where it's recurring or it's a permanent fix. And I love those things. We had with our finance director, he's always so busy, right? And he never has an hour to spare. And so how long did it take? I think, basically he had a 4-hour job to fix some systems. And he put it off for months and months and months and months, and eventually went, please, you have to do them. So he spent the 4 hours, and it saved him 2 hours a week for the rest of time. So within 2 weeks, he made the 4 hours back, and then it was just all, win from there.
It's funny how we put those things off. It's just weird. Yeah, Ian? Sorry.
I was just thinking about how, like, actually, taking into account what Tom's saying about having every so often having a clean up, because it helps to not have it at the back of the mind and stuff like that. I was just thinking how good it is to have like a process cleanup in terms of what your process is like, because like sometimes there's things in your process that you haven't been over for ages that actually drain your time or take you more time than you should do. I've been trying to like I've been spending a little bit of money, which is not always the best thing, but just like I've got loads of little lights that are not really doing, so I ended up investing in a bigger light, which is so much better because I can just switch it on, it's at the right place, and it just lights my thing, and I'm done. And just having like a slightly better lens that's got better that can focus on my face, so I don't have to keep on twisting or turning the camera around and stuff like that. So It's just those little bits, or where I find things, or where I put things, and if you get what I mean.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of, going over it again and seeing where those holes are.
Yeah, processes are so important. Sorry, Dustin, go on.
I was going to say that the whole thought about this task, you do this task and then it saves 2 hours for here on out. Or in Ian's case, you do the task of getting that newer light and it saves time of moving around lights for 15 minutes every day for eternity, right? And there's something, now I have the advantage here in this one because I had suggested that we talk about this, of having this gigantic book of mental models. So I had 2 that I wanted to mention, but this ties right into that. It's called Proximate Cause and Root Cause. And the basic idea behind it is that something happens, we have a problem, and we try to solve that problem. Maybe we do, but lots of times there's a root cause underneath it that makes the problem continue to manifest itself. Whereas if we just take care of the root cause, as an example of your accounting director, financial director, if he does that eliminates it for good. And they had a great example in this book. They said, by the way, for people listening, the book is called Super Thinking, a Big Book of Mental Models. They talked about the Challenger. Do you guys remember the Challenger space shuttle when it went up and it had the teachers on it and it exploded? It was a huge tragedy.
That was terrible. Yeah.
Right. So they started getting into that and talking about root causes and whatever I said, secondary causes. And they said, okay, so why did the Challenger explode? Well, the hydrogen tank ignited. Why did the hydrogen tank ignite? Because gas was leaking. Why was gas leaking? Because the seal broke. Why did the seal break, aka the O-ring? Because the temperature outside was not in the intended range. Why was the O-ring used outside of its intended temperature range? Because on launch day, the temperature was below freezing. Why did the launch go forward when it was cold? Safety concerns were ignored at the launch meeting. Why were safety concerns ignored? There was a lack of proper checks and balances at NASA. That was the root cause and the real reason the Challenger disaster occurred. So when you get down to that, you're like, oh, we could just fix the O-ring problem, but it'll just end up being something else. The real problem you realize is, there's not checks and balances on an administrative level at NASA.
Yeah.
And that can save so much time, right? If we can actually dig that deep into it.
Super smart.
I'm seeing that, like the majority, like 99% of my support requests, people not being able to unzip files or install files. And so it's like, I can fix it on the email level by replying, but that's not going to solve the problem. So they're like, the main problem is probably, if Apple make it a bit easier, but I can't fix it. So, the next level up is me having I've got a page, but making that page even more helpful to help people before they have to email me to say, well, it's not working and stuff like that. Or it might be even as soon as they get the email, there's instructions on there or whatever that may be. It's, I like that. It's going back to finding the furthest point back in the sort of chain of events.
And that's a perfect example, Ian, as well. We're doing something similar with our FAQs. But it's quite easy for people not to think in those terms. So, we've got an amazing person that looks after our customers, but she was fully prepared just to be there and keep wowing them and trying to help them with these questions. And it's like, well, no, let's really direct people towards a scalable guide where they can help themselves. So it's not always a natural human way to think by tracking it back to the source, because you think more in the moment normally.
Yeah. I remember when it took me years not years, but at least a year to figure out, just create a full on, descriptive usage of license and tutorials and things like that and it literally has cut down my support by probably 60-70%.
Wow.
Yes.
But yeah, you don't really
Is that like an FAQ section?
Yeah, so my license section, and then I have an FAQ. Yeah, so that and since then it's been I can't explain to you. It's been bliss.
And people prefer it. It's been statistically proven. They don't want to have to send an email, wait a day, 3 days to hear back.
They wait, and exactly, yeah.
No, totally. That's funny. We've all had this issue because I had the same thing. We decided to try out Help Scout, which is software that makes it easy to create a help section. we put that baby up, and I mean, it tracks incoming requests, but it also has a whole section, and we have videos and answers, and it's easy to find them. Same thing, dude. 60-70% of our emails disappeared overnight.
And you just thought, why didn't we do it sooner?
You're getting metrics on it.
Mm-hmm.
I think of, I mean, literally probably over 1,000+ hours.
So how do they, can you see the trajectory of how they get to it?
Yeah. And it even
so how do they know about that? So if I got a problem, I downloaded something, I got a problem.
Yeah.
What's your problem, Ian?
What's I can't unzip, which is amazing. What I go to your website and I go to contact you, but is there something else there that will take me to that page? So at the
right after a purchase, you get an email and it thanks you for buying, and it says, here's common things that are helpful to people after they buy. And the very first thing I think is a link to help. And there's also help on the site. And then in the newer instructions we've made, we also put a help link in the instructions. And what's cool about it is you can look and see if someone emails you, then you have to rely on a person telling you, oh, well, this is how many of this I got, and this is what I got of this. But when you have like help software, for instance, then it tells you, here's what's being viewed most. Here's the part that's being viewed most. Here's what they do after they view. Do you want to send emails based on people that looked at this? So
brilliant.
It saves so much time. It's like $90 a month, but dude,
and also Ian, what you
spent like $30,000.
Yeah, and Ian, what I've got, which I also think has helped a lot, is obviously they go straight to your contact page to get in touch with you. The first thing they see is like, do you need help with the license? Go yeah. Do you need help with questions? Go yeah. So like you direct them away from contacting you, if that makes sense. As much as you can to help, for them, to get the answers first. Not because we don't want to help people. I mean, let's just make that clear to the listeners. I mean, I love helping people. It's just that I'm a one-woman show, and I just can't do all the support questions if they were all coming in, and it's just it's been helpful to have those sections. So.
Tom's totally right.
What's that, Dustin?
Who has ever said in the history of the interwebs, I'm so excited I get to write to support? Nobody. You just want to search. Let me search real quick and find it and be on my way. I don't want to wait for a human being to write me.
Exactly.
And I don't want the snarky attitude I might get.
Yeah, I mean, if you email Dustin, it's very likely.
Yeah.
But you won't get a reply.
For sure. Oh, that's a guarantee. Yeah, you want to get to that support area.
What else?
Is there a question that says, I've emailed Dustin, but I haven't had a reply yet in the help?
No, but I'll tell you a story. I'll keep it anonymous. Well, of course I'll keep it anonymous, but I had posted about my workspace, and I was like, here's where I work. Here's where I work from, because I got a new house recently. And there's like one comment. I don't have no one interacts with me on Twitter. Nobody. And there's one comment, and it's like, well, apparently one of the kinds of work that's not getting done is responding to support emails. Burn.
To be fair, they nailed it.
Well, yeah, and my response was, yeah, you're right. No emails are no support emails are responded to in this seat because I don't respond to them. Someone else responds to them, but they got me. What can I say?
And they will rue the day.
They did. They won. They won that one.
What else have we got? Because I always want to make this as useful as possible for the listeners, and obviously, I feel like we've gone quite businessy and customer servicey. So, is there anything that's going to help a general day-to-day designer that we have up our sleeves that helps us?
I have one I really wanted to share because I think it's really cool. It can apply to business, but it can apply to clients. It can apply to anything. Mm-hmm. And it's called Hanlon's Razor. And it says, never attribute to malice. Occam's? That is very different from Occam's. So Hanlon's razor says, never attribute to malice that which is adequately explained by carelessness or stupidity. So lots of times, I don't know, and all sorts of things in life.
Yeah, you jump to the worst conclusion.
Yeah, I'll think, oh, they're trying to trick me. They're trying to pull a fast one on me. They're trying to do this. They're trying to do that. And that can happen with
This
clients,
was the
right?
first 3 months of our relationship, people, Dustin and I.
Oh, dude. You don't even know, dude. It's still a relationship.
Oh,
but
brilliant.
I'm telling myself, but I have to tell myself Hanlon's razor, I'll constantly be like, just remember, most, in fact, when they expand on the idea, they say, think about how much planning it takes to have malice. Like, you have to sit down and
I'm going to bring malice now.
Time and be malicious.
How freaking long have I known you? So the fact, if you genuinely still feel like that, I'm coming around your house and I'm helping your 2-year-old punch you in the nuts. It's my revenge.
What I mean by that is, if you were to say hey, can you send an email to promote this? I still feel the same about anybody. I mean, anybody, even after forever. I'll be like, well, does that hurt me? Does that do this?
Yeah.
As opposed to thinking before, someone's trying to use me or is going to try to hurt my business. Now I just think, well, they're just focusing on what their business is doing. They're not trying to do anything to me.
But that's just good.
Do you guys feel what I'm saying here? Do you guys get this too?
Yeah. I think you're quite an extreme example of being,
cautious.
Yeah, cautious and particularly paranoid. But I think, of course, it has to be mutually beneficial. Otherwise, no one does anything. And I think there's a lot of people out there that don't operate in a mutually beneficial way. It's, they want something out of you and you get bugger all back.
But do you guys agree with the idea that of the Hanlon's razor thing, that most people are not operating out of malice, but probably out of
I like to see the good in people.
Knowledge?
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of time, you might get an email from a client saying, I really hate that logo that you designed, and a lot of the time people will get super offended and think, well, you're a bloody moron, you don't know anything about design, all that kind of stuff, when in actual fact it might just be coming from a place of they didn't quite understand what you were putting across or whatever, or they didn't particularly like the color, or so they might have just sent you a quick one blanket statement that didn't give you any kind of indication of the intricacies of what was bothering them. And so then you automatically assume that it's just the worst, oh well, that's it, that's the end of this relationship, you can take a job and shove it where the sun don't shine and whatever else. So yeah, it's quick, it's so easy to go there,
and not just that, but tonality, Lisa, because when you are dealing with emails and we use Slack for our internal communications with our team, I've had so many times where I've actually either clarified someone's tonality or even called them and be like, just want to check how that was meant. And I had one with one of my business partners where I literally I got it towards the end of the day. He then was offline and I was stewing on it for 12 hours, being like, that was kind of hurtful. I can't believe he'd say that. That was really out of character. And then I called him out on it in the morning. He was like, I was being sarcastic. He was like, you kidding me? I would never mean that. I think you're awesome. And it was fine. But you lose tonality so often. And so to Dustin's, mental model there, I think it will really hinder you in life if you automatically assume the worst. And therefore I try and operate in the opposite way to that as much as possible without being naive.
Or if you naturally go to the worst place first, at least give yourself a good bit of time to think about it before you respond. Especially if it comes to emails or whatever. Just think it through and think, hang on a minute, did they really mean that? Mm-hmm. Or yeah.
I'm just thinking now with this client, if you're like, I presume you didn't mean it that way, and they're like, oh no, I did, I hate it. It's like, damn it.
And I feel like if your default, occasionally someone's just like, oh yeah, let's do that. Yes, that sounds great. And some people are just so good, just good-hearted or whatever you want to call it. But I feel like if you have any semblance of the sense that maybe someone did this because they're trying to slight me, they're trying to trick me, they're trying to get me, I try to remind myself, dude, even if you just are cool with people, like it's just offsetting your paranoia, buddy. So like Dustin, just like cooperate with people, because your paranoia like part is like so like in gear and working that like even if you're generous, you're not going to have any problems, because your paranoia will literally stop you. Like even when you try your best to be generous.
With this, we're all friends, right? And you obviously got your friends in real life and so on.
Uh-oh, here it comes.
Currently we are.
Yeah, just wait. And I bet if you asked any of us and your real life friends, like, why do you like Dustin? Why do you like hanging out with him? Why are you friends? No one's going to be like, I just love his paranoia. Like, honestly, that really draws me to the guy. You know, there's so many qualities. Like, you're funny and philosophical and smart, and like, you know, I like how you make me think about stuff, and I admire your work and your drive and everything you do there. And you know, we have like-minded interests and we're musical, and there's so many like great qualities, right? But I'm never going to be like, yeah, paranoia, that's the one for me. So
no, I actually like, I really like, when the whole coronavirus thing started, I was like, I made a challenge for myself, do some things that feel uncomfortably generous to do, like things where I have something to risk. For instance, like sharing other people's content to my entire newsletter, you know, that kind of thing tends to make me paranoid. But like, I did it for like a buddy, because I was like, well, just like try to go out of your comfort zone and do it. But on the other side of it, though, sometimes I think, well, like sometimes people tell me, oh, well, you really think through things. Well, that's just like the other side. That's like a nice way of saying I'm super paranoid. The reason I think through it is because I'm super paranoid. So sometimes it pays off for me. A lot of times I end up looking like a big jerk. My apologies in advance, world.
But we love you, really.
We do, Dustin.
Yeah. I love you guys too. You love me in spite of my crazy paranoia.
We still need to freaking hang out with all four of us. It's so sad. When all this is done, we need to hang out. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just to reiterate on whose razor was it?
Hanlon's razor.
Hanlon razor.
Yeah, although that was Occam's, he actually nicked it. He picked it up and started.
He was angry at
himself.
Yeah.
Like, when he made it, he was like telling Occam, he was like, Occam, don't think that I did this out of malice. It was just out of carelessness.
I was just tired. But I remember, I don't know if you've seen it on a video on the internet where I think it's like a teacher and a student. The teacher is giving an example to the student of when someone's verbally bullying someone. So he gets the student to like say some just really nasty things to him, like you're rubbish, you're not going to amount to anything, like that. And he does this first response, which is like just defensive. Everything's defensive and just like no, you know, and just arguing back. And it just builds and builds and builds. Where in the second instance, he diffuses it in like a few seconds by going like, oh, you're rubbish, and goes, yeah, I have been feeling that, baby, but you're really good at, you know, and points out something, and it's just, and they can't,
you can't go anywhere.
Do it, they just can't come up with the words because he's
breaks the whole,
you know, like that sort of. There's no defense. The defenses have been broken down, and so like once they've gone through once, they're like and there's niceness the other side. They just can't deal with it. And it's that sort of thing. It's like, you know, even if you have to sleep on it to do it, like even I remember it with like client work when the client, I've had those emails that come in at like 9:00 at night and you're like, oh, I really hate the logo, and like a massive list of changes, and you're like, oh, I spent so long on it. And then you go to bed and you wake up and you're like, okay, that's okay. I can see why, you know, you've got a better head. You're a bit fresher.
You're not responding emotionally, are you?
No,
because it feels like a personal attack.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before. Often the client actually does see something because we get so in like
that you miss.
Yeah. We miss it. We see like the golden ratio and we go super technical. And this sounds terrible. Basically, on Friday, I'm announcing with my personal brand, I've got like a whole new logo mark, and my good friend James did it. Unbelievably talented logo designer. And he sent over the first revision. I showed it to a couple of loved ones and I looked at it and it was really smart and really good and clean and balanced. And I wrote back and my feedback was, me and a couple of other people see a penis. It's not really, and I can't unsee that now. So I don't think I can use it, right? And he'd been there like balancing this thing so like wonderfully, you know, it really met the brief in like every other way. And I was like, yeah, I just do penis. So sorry. And
It's the same as is it the Illustrator? I can't remember which one is Illustrator or Photoshop. When you load it, it looks like a floating sanitary pad. I can't unsee that.
Tom.
That's all I see.
Oh no, I'm going to open that
When
up
I-
tomorrow. That's all going to.
when I was in school for design, we had to design a logo, and I made a fake company called Boost. I can't remember what it was for. And my logo was like this arrow, and it was like going like this, and then it went to point up, like to show like, you know, whatever being boosted.
Mm.
And it was the same thing. It looked like an erect penis. And when I showed it in front of the class for the critique, everyone was like, the first guy was just like, you know, he didn't care about what people said. He was like, looks like a big, you know what to me. And yeah, I can tell you, when you told your friend that, no matter how good he is, cuts like a knife, man.
yeah, I could tell when he was being so nice and professional about it, but I could tell he was like, oh, random
Is that a word?
story from the past. But when I was at school, one of my classes was business studies. And looking back, you know, it really was not the best class on business. Far from it. No one really took it that seriously. In case in point, they had like the boys team and the girls team, and we had to create a business from nothing. And I ended up being the managing director of the boys team. And we've got a very famous supermarket chain here called Marks and Spencer's. And everyone calls
Oh,
it M&S. Like, I'm going to go down at M&S. And so we thought we'd swap it. So we called it S&M. and
I knew it
our
was going.
middle-aged teacher didn't pick up on it at first. So we were there like on the whiteboard presenting S&M enterprises.
Oh, that's good.
Very, very mature. You can see little insight
Yeah.
into teenage Tom.
What boys do.
Everyone's working from home now, and I hope that people haven't been listening to this, and then all of a sudden their kids are playing, they're trying to homeschool them while they're
Oh,
working, and all of a sudden
yeah.
we're talking about you know what's and you know who's and you know how's, and they're like,
Yeah. If
my-
for
my
all the
bad, I
kids
didn't
out
think about
there, earmuffs, guys. Earmuff it up.
Except
Yeah.
all those things are natural, and at least half of us have them. So, you know, just saying.
It's part of life.
Yep,
This
People
is
will
true.
tell you your work looks like that sometimes.
exactly.
Especially if it's a griller.
That, I don't think. Obviously, be designing wrong.
Yeah, you clearly haven't tried doing a logo marker around the letter T, my friend. Capital T.
Or one with an arrow going up to show profits rising. As soon as you make that arrow going up, you're asking for trouble.
Yeah, we're presenting
Anything
6 to
rising, I
Midnight
guess.
Incorporated. Oh
That's the
dear.
Why does
worst.
this always
Because, you
go
know, it's like,
south?
it's one of the things where you're
Oh,
like,
goodness.
your only job is, I mean, almost your only job is don't put profanity into the logo. Like, if there was just a baseline of what not to do, that's it. Like, don't put
Mhm.
the profanity in. So when you deliver to someone and they're like, oh, that looks like this, you fail.
Yeah, that should be design
If
school
everyone's
week
seeing that in
one.
it. Yeah. Granted, though, I know what you're saying, like, it might not have looked like that to you, though, but like to most people, but to you, once you see it, you're like, I can't live with this mark because I'm going to spend way too much time looking at a you know what.
Well, even
Yeah.
in more subtle ways, it might not be a you know what. But do you remember I think it was the 2012 Olympic Games? Everyone said it looked like Lisa Simpson giving fellatio. And that went viral. Like, if you go have a look at it, you'll see what I mean. Like, that got shared.
2020 Olympic Games?
That got shared everywhere, and not just in the design community. Like, everyone around the world was saying it. And this poor logo designer was like, damn it. Go have a look now
2020
while we were
Olympics?
recording. 2020 Olympics logo. Type in.
Oh, no.
Logo.
No. Oh, no.
Wait, I don't see. I just see a round thing. Is there?
It's an optical
Is
illusion.
there something
You
I'm
need to,
missing?
yeah, just keep looking for a while.
Okay.
Once you see it, it won't go away.
Sure. I love that Dustin got it
I was
straight
like-
away.
Remember when Gap did that thing? Like, Gap did their logo design, and it was like just like a square with a triangle or circle intersecting it, and it said Gap and like Times New Roman or something.
Mm-hmm.
It was
And
just
everyone's
really,
like,
Yeah, I
what?
saw
really
that.
bad.
Yeah, that was a bit of a.
Yeah.
The thing is, I always wonder with some of these whether they're doing it for like they just know it's going to be designers are going to go crazy for it, and it just promotes,
Sure,
promotes the product.
no, surely not. That would be like, oh, let's go and get like a new CEO that's incredibly racist because, man, are we going to get some PR?
Yeah, no, that's different now, isn't it? Coming out with a logo that's a bit like
ugly.
ugly
Yeah.
than someone being racist.
Okay, yeah,
Well,
maybe
like,
I
I
should
think,
conflate
like-
the two.
In the UK, you guys have this stuff called spotted you know what. And I mean, here in the United States, I can guarantee you 98% of the sales are for bachelorette parties. No one buys it because they think it sounds delicious. Like, do you
This is
guys
true.
just make it to eat it, or do you guys think it's funny too and you guys all buy it so you can put it on your counter?
I don't think anyone has made that since like the 1700s. That's one of those things that I
Oh,
ever.
really?
I don't think I've ever heard an English person mention it. It's always Americans, where they're like, "Oh, what's
my
up,
gosh.
governor? Some spotted dick." Like, yeah, it's always
Yes,
like
that's
some.
how-
It gets in the impersonation somehow.
That's how we say, yeah. Like, we would make some sort of joke like that and then we give it at a bachelorette party.
Oh man,
Lisa, do you know what we're talking about?
not a
Got
clue.
no clue.
She's still looking at Lisa
Sorry.
Simpson, horrified. Right, have we got? I know we're coming up on time. Have we got something that is going to be any semblance of use for the listeners after the last 5 minutes of inappropriateness?
Can one of you guys explain? You guys can do it better than me, but there's that one you mentioned it the other day, Tom. I feel like it's such a good one. That fact that if you improve 1% every day, it's something like that
Mm.
over the course of a year.
Yeah.
That concept I feel like is so
it's
good, but I can't say
it's
it.
in the book
James
of
Clear.
Atomic Habits.
Mm.
I mean, you got Atomic Habits.
Yeah, I do. I think if you improve something, I don't want to get this wrong now. It was something like if you improve 1% a day, you're 36 times better after a year.
I'm sure it's more than that
Really?
because
Wow.
that doesn't sound very much.
Well, yeah, because that's 3,600% better, Ian. That's a ton better. Like,
Yeah,
imagine right now, you can bench press 70 kg, and in a year's time, you would bench press 36 times that. Obviously, that would be impossible, but as an order of magnitude, it's pretty enormous.
Mm-hmm.
the only thing about that is how much work it goes in to figure out what that 1% is going to increase.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Because like
Yeah.
with the example he gives in the book, which is the British cycling team, they went through everything, like the pillows they slept on, to the colour of the inside of the place where they kept the bikes, so they could see dirt and stuff like that. And you're like, well, how do I do that in my own company?
You need
how
to
do I
paint
do
the
that in
inside
my
of your
own-
studio white, so if there's any dust, you will not get sick
Slowing
twice a
me
year.
down.
Yeah.
But it does make sense. Like the light thing you were talking about, you're like, well, if you move the light, you got the bigger light. That's a big win. But it makes you think about things like, well, if you move the light a half a foot closer to you, how much time, if you add up lots of little things like that, does it save in reaching over the course of a lifetime?
Just having a little remote control for it is the helpful thing. So
You're winning at life, sir.
I think what we need is just to endlessly tweak our productivity until everything around us is automated and we never have to leave our chair. A little robot
Yeah.
brings us coffee. That's where it's going.
coffee and cookies.
1% less sleep every night until I don't need to sleep anymore.
Yeah, that sounds good. Try that. Yeah, there's something to be said for it, though. I try and do this, but in some perhaps less aggressive ways, because every day is quite a lot, and getting 36 times better is generally inconceivable in any aspect of life. But if you even do it once a month, or once a week, or whatever it might be, just have a subtle little improvement with whatever it is you're working on. And to apply this to creatives, it could be, you get 1% better with the quality of your work. And you do that by watching a YouTube video and learning a new skill outside your comfort zone, or taking a course, or trying a new style, or posting consistently on social media, or whatever it might be. It's the whole thing that the progress will happen so slowly that you won't notice it until you look back 6 or 12 months ago and you go, damn, that really, really did compound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's just like you can't really measure it exactly. It's kind of like this North Star that kind of helps you continue going the right way.
Mm-hmm. Amen, brother.
Amen, brothers and sisters.
Okay, I think that is it from us this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're sorry if there's any little ones around. This might be a headphones podcast because I don't know if I can keep it totally clean. I know you can't, Lisa. It's very tricky with a couple of potty mouths. But yeah, we've got some amazing guests lined up on the show. Dustin will not reveal it just yet, but he's got a really, really cool guest lined up, who I believe is also a listener of the show, which was a fun surprise because they're pretty famous. And we are going to be doing some more Q&A. We're going to be accepting your questions. We're going to line up some hard-hitting topics. To be perfectly honest, we haven't been planning out the last few episodes, which probably shows. And a lot of it has been this kind of pandemic podcasting where we're all just adapting to this new way of life. And so we always want the show to be valuable, but as per the lovely reviews, I think people actually just like hanging out with us. And so...
And we like hanging out with you.
Yeah, we really do. And so I hope if it's, we tend to just chat as friends and kind of cover the stuff that's on our mind. So who knows? Maybe it's not always the most structured podcast in the world, but we hope it's bringing you a little peace and support and honesty and friendship, and that will make us happy.
Yep.
All right, that's it from us. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Cheerio.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. As always, you can find full show notes over at honestdesigners.com, or find us over on iTunes and now Spotify by searching for The Honest Designers Show. And remember, we're now on social media too, if you search for Honest Designers. If today's episode helped you, then it would mean the world to us if you took just a moment to leave us a quick review over on iTunes, as this is one of the best ways for other designers to discover the show. Thanks again for tuning in, and we will see you next week right here on The Honest Designers Show.